Hey, what's up guys? Hardleg Joe here with your What a Deck profile for the Ghostrick Burn deck. I'm just going to go through everything in here, and then I'll explain how it works. So we have 3 Ghostrick Warwolf, 3 Jiangshi, 3 Ghostrick Doll, 3 Jack Frost, 3 Lantern, 3 Ghostrick Spectre, and 2 Ghostrick Mary. For the spells, we're just playing 3 Swords of Concealing Light. Traps, we have 2 Ceasefire, 3 Quaking Mirror Force, 2 Ghostrick Vanish, 2 Skill Prisoner, 3 Floodgate Trap Hole, 3 Ghostrick Scare, and 2 The Huge Revolution is Over. For our extra deck, we're playing 3 Angel of Mischief, 1 Acid Golem of Destruction, 3 Alucard, 1 Zen Mains, 1 So Cute Boss, 1 Gachi Gachi Gentetsu, 3 Doulahan, a Slacker Magician, and Shimoji Soldier. The side deck I'll go over in a bit. So the win condition of this deck is to burn your opponent to death with effect damage. We do that, of course, with Ghostrick Warwolf. When it is flipped face up, you can inflict 100 damage to your opponent for every set card on the field. And if you're unfamiliar with Ghostricks, they all have the ability to set themselves. So you're going to end up most likely with 5 set cards on your field, so that's at least 400. If you set some spell traps, that's another couple hundred, plus whatever your opponent has. If you're lucky, you can get up to almost 15,000, even 2,000 if you have a completely full stuffed field, although that rarely happens. But that just ticks away at them, and then we're playing Ceasefire. You have a lot of draw power in this deck, so really all this has to do is get them down to around 4,000, and then if you can get 1 Ceasefire off, you're usually going to win the game. So in order to facilitate these two, we've got to put everything face down. That's why we're playing 3 Quaking Mirror Force and 3 Floodgate Trap Hole. These both put your opponent's monsters face down permanently, this when they attack, and this when they're summoned. Like my other Ghostrick deck, this doesn't really like to attack or destroy things. It's more about filling your opponent's field with monsters they can't use. We also keep them down with Swords of Concealing Light. This will flip all your opponent's monsters to face down defense position and hold them there for 2 turns, or until this gets destroyed. And we've got Ghostrick Scare, probably one of the most important cards in this deck. This is target any number of face-down defense position monsters you control, change them to face up. Count the number of Ghostricks, and if you do, change that many monsters your opponent controls to face-down defense position. So this is non-targeting setting things, which is always good, and it also lets you flip your Ghostricks during your opponent's turn, which is also very good because they have effects, most notably being Warwolf. Now, we're only playing 3 of these, but fortunately, there's a cool little loop you get with Ghostrick Angel of Mischief. With this, you could summon it on top of any other Ghostrick Ixie. So we can make Alucard and Doulahan because we got a lot of 1s and 3s. You could even make So Cute Boss if you want to go with 2 Ghostrick Dolls. You put this on top, and you can use this to search out your Ghostrick Scare. Now, an interesting thing about both Alucard and Doulahan is if they're sent to the graveyard, you can add a Ghostrick card from your graveyard to your hand. So if you wait until after you use this, it's in your graveyard, next turn you detach one of these 2 as Ixie material to add either this or Ghostrick Vanish from your deck to your hand, and then you can then grab this out of the graveyard and add it back to your hand. So between the 3 of these and being able to make up to 3 Angel of Mischief, you can hopefully reuse this enough to get the burn damage down that you need. As for the Ghostricks themselves, we're playing Jiangshi. This is good search power when it's flipped face up. You can add to your deck to your hand 1 Ghostrick monster whose level is less than or equal to the number of Ghostrick monsters you control. So he's your search power. If worse comes to worse, you could set this, and then when they attack into it, you can add one of your level 1 monsters. I mean, the highest level we play is 3, so once you get 3 monsters on the field, including himself, you can search any other monster in the deck. Of course, a good thing to combo with this is Ghostrick Spectre. This says if any of your Ghostrick monsters is destroyed by battle or card effect, special summon this from your hand face down and draw a card. So it's a little bit of draw power, it's extra stall. And of course there's the combo, if this gets attacked, it's flipped face up, you add Spectre, it gets destroyed, and then you summon Spectre. Probably the 3rd most important card in here is Ghostrick Doll. This is when this is flipped face up, its effect activates. During the end phase, set all monsters on the field, and then summon a Ghostrick from your deck whose level is equal or less than the number of monsters flipped face down. So what's great about this is if they don't negate it in the main phase, even if they get rid of this card, its effect will still activate in the end phase, and it sets all your opponent's monsters, so you don't have to worry about continuous effects, and it lets you summon something. So if they have at least 2 monsters on the field, you're getting another doll back out. If they have 3, you can use it to get your Warwolf or your Jiangshi. And probably most importantly, during your turn, like you make Angel of Mischief, you flip this up, this will put this back face down so that all your cards like Warwolf that count face down monsters don't have to worry about your Ixies. Like everything gets flipped face down. Finally, we're just playing Jack Frost, Lantern, and Mary, who are all kind of similar. Jack Frost and Lantern both special summon themselves when you get attacked directly. Lantern just negates the attack. Jack Frost flipped the monster that attacked face down. Both will stall for a little bit. Mary is when you take damage, you can discard it and then summon any Ghostrick from your deck, which is pretty nice, although you have to actually take the damage first, which is why we only run 2 of them. I'd prefer these 2 that can actually stop you from taking damage in the first place. Mostly these are just here because with the level 1s, we've got all of those, you could stall and everything, and then hopefully make your Doulahan, and then from that into Angel of Mischief. Doulahan himself is pretty nice. He can have the attack of a monster during either player's turn, and he gains 200 attack for every Ghostrick card you control, which is nice, but again, we rarely attack. I usually just summon in defense mode. More importantly is probably Alucard. He can detach to destroy one set card your opponent controls, so monster or spell. So if your opponent has something that's really strong that you set, and you've only set it with like Swords of Concealing or Scare, where it's going to flip up next turn and be trouble for you, you can destroy it with Alucard. Finally, the only other things I didn't mention was Ceasefire, which is, if you don't know, flip all face down defense position monsters face up, flip effects are not activated, inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each face up effect monster on the field. So, that's already, if you just got your 5 monsters on your field and they have nothing, that's 2,500. If you both have 5 monsters, that's 5,000. So that could be quite ridiculous if you've got the right field set up. And of course, while these do have effects that say when they're flipped face up, they aren't actually flip effects. So a lot of these effects will activate when you use this, which is really nice. Finally, we're just playing Protection, which is Ghostrick Vanish, Skill Prisoner, and the Huge Revolution is over, which is all kind of the same thing, just to different degrees. I would actually recommend if you were playing this in real to probably just play 3 Vanish, 3 Skill Prisoner, and then side 3 Huge Revolution is over, and switch out for whichever one is the most useful to you. But Vanish says reveal one Ghostrick monster in your hand. This turn, all Ghostrick cards you control in face-down defense positions cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects. So this prevents things from being targeted, which is really good. It can also help against Raigeki and Dark Hole and stuff like that. It's also, of course, searchable with Angel of Mischief, which is a big reason why it's in here. Huge Revolution is over whenever an effect would destroy more than 2 cards on the field, negate the activation and banish it. Also really good, especially for more monster effect related things like Light Sworn. You get a Judgment Dragon that tries to blow up the field, or a Black Rose. You can not only stop them, but also banish them. And this will help protect your spell traps too from things like Twin Twister if you're playing someone with a lot of spell trap removal. Finally, Skill Prisoner. Skill Prisoner negates monster effects that target cards after they've targeted them, which is really good. This is kind of like if they target your monsters and you chain this, the targeting effect still goes off. With this, it negates it after the fact. So this could be good for certain things, especially against like ABC Dragon, where they're going to be trying to banish your cards using its effects. Skill Prisoner is a good out to that. Plus, this has the effect that when it's in the graveyard, you can banish it during either player's turn to do the same thing. So you get double uses out of these. The rest of the extra deck is just basically a little toolbox. I just put a couple level 1s, a couple level 2s, and a couple level 3s. You can run whatever you want. I don't think I've ever summoned any of these. As for the actual side deck, what I would run is 3 Mystical Space Typhoon. You don't really want to do Twin Twister because you don't want stuff in the graveyard. I guess Galaxy Cyclone would work really just as well, but this is a little better for taking out pendulums and stuff. But just some spell trap removal, because that's the one thing that we don't really have any of this. Of course, as I already mentioned, probably a 3rd copy of Skill Prisoner, a 3rd copy of Huge Revolution, a 3rd copy of Ghostrick Vanish, just so you could side out and put whatever works best for the deck that you're facing against in there. And then another Ghostrick Mary, because this can be useful against certain decks, especially decks that do burn damage, because this is whenever you take damage, not just like battle damage. Everything else in here is just sort of other options, other things that you could run. Ghostrick Break is pretty nice when exactly 1 Ghostrick monster is destroyed and sent to the graveyard. Target 2 monsters in your graveyard with different names and special summon them in face down defense position, which can be really good late game, but early game it really kind of sucks. Of course you could search it, so if you just want to play 1 copy of it, it's pretty nice and just use it in case they happen to do stuff. Of course, most of the time they're not going to be destroying just one of your monsters, which is why I went for like Huge Revolution and Vanish instead. The Ghostrick field spells are both pretty nice, but neither works particularly well for this. Both kind of involve you getting attacked, and we don't really want that to happen. There is a 3rd Ghostrick field spell, but that says your opponent doesn't take damage. It works really well for the mill variant since you don't damage them, but it stops Warwolf from being effective. Book of Eclipse is a really good card that again works better for the mill variant. It's non-targeting, flipping things face down, and it also makes your opponent draw, which can be really good if you clog up their field and they can't actually play the stuff that they get. If you found more things you wanted to take out of this, maybe you don't trust the Huge Revolution or Skill Prisoner, you can always throw in some draw power in the form of Pot of Duality, just because you don't really special summon during your turn, it's mostly during your opponent's turn, you're just setting things. It can mess up Doll a little bit, but especially if you've already got like a full field, this can be really good. Likewise, One Day of Peace, better for the mill variant yet again, but when you're doing the burn damage, or not there yet, it can be good to stall for a turn and just get an extra card. Everything else in here is just a couple other Ixies, level 1s and level 2s. You can make Djinn Buster since you've got Dark level 2 monsters. And I think that's about it. That should cover everything. So I hope you guys enjoyed. This is a pretty nice little deck. Not the most competitive, not the most anti-meta, not like my Ghostrick Mill, but it's still pretty nifty. I like it. Next week I'll be playing something a little closer to the meta, more like Metal Foes perhaps, but with fundamental differences. Should be interesting. Until then, good luck. Have fun.